Welcome, everybody, to planning your second half of 2023. I'm Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon, and I'm super excited today to have as my co-host none other than the CEO and founder of Plug and Play SM, Deborah Byrd. What's up, Deborah?
Hey, this is my favorite time. It's mid-year, it's a halftime show, it's launching for the second half. You can kind of restart from the shock of maybe the first part of this year. So I'm excited for today's call, and I have my notepad. I'm ready to take lots of notes.
I'm glad. I think everyone should have their notepad out. And I would tell you, I always want to be transparent with y'all. I always struggle because my goal is to stay off my soapbox, right? I don't want to be lecturing at you. I want to be coming alongside and putting my arm around you and bringing you alongside for the second half of the year. So if I start getting like in your face, it's because I just finished listening to Never Finished by David Goggins on Audible, which is just, if I had 10% of what that guy's got from a commitment perspective, I mean, I'd be unstoppable. He's just a phenomenal human. And as long as you don't mind the F word a lot, then it's if you need something around mindset, it's definitely a great listen. And so let me just kind of lay out the day, kind of what we've got here. And I told Deborah, she and I, we could talk for like all day about this stuff. It's something that she and I are really passionate about. And I just said, hey, we could go 30 minutes, we could go an hour. So this is just us going, and we're going to roll along with you. I'm looking at it. And so it's interesting. Scriptapalooza, we had 3,200 signups, 1,600 people show. For our follow-up we did with Phil, we had 600 signups, 300 show. Today we had 100 signups, and there's 22 of you on here. That's embarrassing. Like, where's everyone else? So first off, congratulations to those of you who are here. I know at least 2 people who signed up. We said, I signed up, but I'm not going to be there. So hopefully you'll post the recording. And I was going to start off with a video, which, I have to say, I never was a Kobe Bryant fan because I'm a Suns fan, and he always came in and kicked my son's ass. But in hindsight, I wish I was more of a student of him when he played, because he always came in and was just so good. And I saw a video today on Reels, because Deborah makes me get onto social media, and he talked about it. I think it was a Nike commercial. And I was going to play it, but I'm like, oh, if I play the Nike commercial, then they won't. Then this won't be able to go into YouTube. It'll block us. But he talks about, did you get better today? He said, if you get better, go to bed every night saying, did I get better today? And the answer is yes. And you do that for 10 or 15 years. He didn't say for 10 or 15 days. He said for 10 or 15 years, then you're going to be amazing. So really going to walk through, that's kind of my mindset today is, hey, let's get better every day. We should really do a quick commercial, Deborah. Let's what are you excited about for our exactly what to say first ever mortgage editions that we're doing? Like, let's give a pitch for that.
Well, I would say I'm most excited about the people who are going to attend, and just the collaboration and the masterminding. Like, the magic in that room is just, it's hard to describe, but it attracts those who have that hunger to just improve every day. And it's amazing to watch how just little word swaps, like, we don't realize the impact of our message architecture and how that can get people to decisions faster that benefits both you and them. So, kind of like with this call today, I really need loan officers or real estate agents to be producing more, obviously, to afford our services. But I just think for the industry in a whole, like, it's tough out there. And I have empathy for those who, you may measure yourself based off results. And so I would just say, don't just look at the results in your measurement. Look at who you're becoming along the way, and the journey along the way, that sometimes it's the toughest years and our toughest times that we can then look back and just be most proud of ourselves, of what we overcome. So for those of you who don't like maybe what you have now, and that working on your relationships usually means starting with the conversations, and your word choice can either sometimes push people away or attract people or hurt or heal or help. And so I'm just excited to be able to serve more people and to help more. So
I would say
y'all
this,
come.
Just imagine being in a room with Deborah and I and 16 other loan officers from around the country. We're half full for both events. We just had one person back out because she's switching careers after she paid. And I'm like, of course, I'll give you your money back. But that we want to keep you all in this business. So I pulled out my calendar so I would know exactly what our dates are. We're the 26th and 27th of September in Phoenix. And then we are the 24th and the 25th of October in Dallas, Texas, home of Deborah Byrd. And so we're both excited to host people there. You can just go to toddbookspan.me, and the top of that link tree has a link to register. And we saw the early bird pricing going on that. So if it's something that is in your budget and you're looking to grow, and I think you're right, it's the whole idea of having time together in a small group and masterminding. It's not just, I enjoyed the time when I went through the experience with you and your sister Denise and another loan officer, and then a dozen real estate agents. We had time where we got to mastermind in between and around and lunch and all of those things. So I think that is great. All right. So before I get rolling, you all have the chat open. So what is it that you are hoping to learn today? So that way, when we get to the end of this, then when it goes between 30 and 60 minutes, and by the way, we're up to about 40 people now. So you guys aren't, you're not all disappointing me, but it's still, I've kind of figured we'd at least get half full. But what is it like? What are your big takeaways? Like, what is it you want to make sure that we talk about today? And then I may put Deborah on the spot at the end and have her talk about this new meta thing, Threads, so we can all, pretend because we need one more social media distraction. But we're not going to start there because then we would end there. That could be the whole thing. But all right, let's hear it. Come on, someone's got to have something that they want to learn today. And I'll be stubborn and I'm going to pause here while you guys think about it. Or you really just want to talk about planning.
Well, and can I add to that question? Let me ask this, and Todd, you can veto it if you want, since this is your call. But either the biggest thing that you want to learn in this time together, or the biggest challenge you're having that, if solved, would make the biggest impact in your business. So answer either one of those, if that works.
Perfect. I like those. Yeah. I mean, really where everyone's struggling. And so, for me, I think in brief planning, right? You all know that about me. And I feel like if we can own our time, then we own our business, then we own our life. I mean, that's really it. Oftentimes where we struggle is the fact that we're really busy reacting all day. And, I've just had some interesting kind of epiphanies over the last, let's call it 5 days that I listened to that book by Mr. Goggins. He calls himself Goggins. Like, he's actually got two personas. He's got David, which is like the normal guy like me and you, Deborah. And then he's got Goggins, which is that beast that comes out. And I'm like, all right, I got to.
That's the Deb X. There's
that's
Deborah.
It. You got Deb X.
X.
I don't have that. I think I need that, but that person in me is the person that does the 100 realtor calls in a day, right? I have that person in me, but I've just never named that alter ego of me something else. So, maybe you have a good suggestion to put that in the chat as well. But I see this, right? Getting UVP across without bragging, right? Motivation, how to find it when you don't feel like you're in the desert, right? Everything, LOL, right? I understand that. Motivation, direction, right? Best strategies around qualifying homes at high interest rates, how to stay motivated with the current market.
And Alana said leverage/time savers.
Yeah, leading a team, keeping on track with calls, helping realtor partners by giving them talking points and the right words. And so, there's a lot there. And so let's make sure we we're going to address that as we go. And then, we'll keep, I'll put Deborah on the spot because, she's great at this as well. And I'll start talking and I'll kind of fill in. So really, I've also been doing Zoom meetings with realtors over the past, call it 10 days. And I'm doing and I'm basically saying to the realtors, hey, I'd love to set up a conversation with you to talk about the second half of the year. So normally I would be doing a Q3 call. Like, I would just say, hey, let's talk about the next 90 days. But this is the first time I've said, hey, let's talk about the half of the year. And I feel like it's really important. And the reason I chose that is because I actually feel like we got to look a little longer down the path, because I think that it's going to be a little bit longer and more difficult 6 months. I think we just looked at the next 90 days. Might be hard for a lot of people to get motivated for the next 90 days. All right, Jason, of course, I love you, Jason. And not to drink as much. And so kind of as we go through it again, I'm going to stay off of my high horse, and I'm really going to talk about what I'm doing, right? I'm helping my team, the commitments that I'm making to my team to get better, the commitments I'm taking to learn about the conversations in this market, and opportunities for you to go out there and have similar conversations. Because I feel like it's one thing for me to tell you what I used to do. It's a different thing for me to tell you, hey, here's what I'm doing, and then here's what I'm hearing from all of you. And so I don't do loans, but I am talking to realtors, and I am helping figure out what their psyche is and how my team can help them with that. Right. So I'm going down these same paths. And so the conversations I really think is you've got to be crystal clear on what you did or didn't do in the first half of the year, right? We can never talk about planning without looking in the rear view mirror first. And I think where most people fail is they don't actually take enough time to be introspective and say, okay, how did I do in the first half of the year? And I think you've got to look at it from the perspective of writing down all the things you kicked ass on. You did great at some things, right? There's something that you did good on. It could have been the one day, it could have been the one conversation, or it could have been a string of things that you did that you're really proud of, that you think worked out well. One of the books that I read this year, and by read, I mean I listened to, but I liked it so much I went out and bought it, was The Gap and the Gain by Ben Hardy. And one of the things that he talks about is that you have to look not at the gap of what you didn't accomplish, but you actually have to look at the gain of what you did accomplish. So it's kind of like that Kobe Bryant thing. If you get a little better every day. And so one of the things that he does, so it was actually my gratitude notebook that I brought, but I actually write down in here at night before I go to bed, 3 things that I did that were awesome in the day, and then 3 things I'm going to be intentional about tomorrow. Really, what did I gain today? Right? Here was the date dinner with my wife, right? I mean, it's not necessarily all around, right? Not all around business, right? Mapped out a mastermind that I ran. Modern Mortgage Summit was successful. I mean, just things that I did that were great to remember. And then I can go back here and I can get motivation when I'm feeling maybe like I don't really have it today. So I think you got to look back, and I want you to first just do a brain dump, write it out. Like, it can be bullet points. I'm a bullet point guy. Like, what are some of the things that really went well, personally and professionally in the first half of the year? So we want to look at what the gain is first, and then you got to look at it from a numbers perspective, right? I mean, you're in business. And so I'm assuming that most of you on here are loan officers, but I also know some realtors who said they might jump on. And you got to look at it from a numbers perspective. And unfortunately, you're going to have to compare that to what your goal was. So I'm assuming that you all started at the beginning of the year and you had a goal for the number of transactions that you were going to close, the number of families that you're going to serve. And you've got to have a hard look at it. And so for my team, what I did over the weekend, and I was like super nerdy, I was all excited. I built the report templates on the 28th, and I'm like, yay, I could not wait for the 1st, so I could actually run the reports and look at the numbers. And the sad part is the numbers aren't that good, right? I mean, the team, we've averaged over $100 million for more than a decade. We've done more than $1 billion worth of loans, and they're at like 30 something million. I mean, which is still great. Don't get me wrong. It's, it's paying the bills, but it's not on track for $100 million a year. That'd have been $50 million. And you have to look at the reality of that. And so I would say that I literally went through, and again, I'm a person who records activities and tracks results, right? So my team every day, they report out how many lead calls, how many partner calls, how many quality conversations, how many meetings they have, right? Those are the activities that you do that create the results that you want. And then they do leads, they do applications, they do pre-qualifications. I believe pre-qualification is important because you got to look at, are the people you're talking to qualifying, right? If you've got a real estate agent, all they send you are, they work rental leads, and all they send you are people for credit repair, then, you have to be aware of that. Again, not to say kick that realtor to the curb, but you have to be aware of that, and you're coaching to them of who to send you and how much time to spend there. And then, of course, close loans, right? So you have to look all of that. And so I did a very a deeper dive than I normally do mid-year. I did what I would normally do at the end of the year. I compared realtors who referred leads, realtors whose leads actually got qualified, realtors whose leads got pre-qualified, and then all the way to closed, right? So I primarily focused on the leads and the close, right? There's my hang loose thing. Because again, I'm looking at who are the realtors that are referring business to the team, and are those realtors all closing with the team? And I looked at 2021 realtors, 2022 realtors, 2023 first half, 2023 realtors, right? Hey, are the realtors that were lost? Hey, did they actually pick up any realtors this year? Like, how are you doing? Like, that's It's kind of painful. It's kind of painful when you look and the list from 2021 is this big, and the list from 2022 slightly smaller, and the list from 2023 is even smaller. And you look at it from two perspectives, right? Did I lose the realtor because I wasn't great? Did I lose the realtor because I didn't follow up with them? Did I lose the realtor because I did follow up with them, but someone else called them and had some shiny, hangy, shiny fruit that they were showing them? And then look at the ones who were consistent. Look at the gains. Like who did we gain? And then really it's a math equation from there, right? So, if you know your leads, all the pieces that you have. And I'm going to talk about Shay. So Shay, I call him a kid. He's 32, but I'm in my 50s. He's older than all my kids, so I don't know why I shouldn't call him a kid. But Shay's the person who does all my old realtors and all of that. And so I'm digging in, and Shay's goal as a guy who's been in the business for a year and a half is 10 loans a month right now, right? And he's averaged between 5 and 7, so he's doing great. He's had months of 10. His best month was 12 this year, but he's not where he wants to be. And so I went through all of those relationships to see how is he doing and looking at that number, and ultimately realized that for Shay, he's got to get realtors who, when I'm looking at his numbers, again, you got to know your numbers, is that he's only got 2 realtors who have referred him more than 10 leads. And then most of his realtors have referred him between 1 and 3. And so again, you have to think about the numbers, right? If his goal is to do 60 transactions in the second half of the year, right? And that's your referrals. You got people who actually, like, some of these people only closed 1 or 2 loans of them all last year, right? That was like 15 realtors. Well, that's 15 loans, great, but then there's 45 more he's got to make up, and he's only got 2 of them who referred him at least 3 that actually closed. And you're like, ouch, like that's a lot of work. But again, now he knows the numbers, and so now he can be laser focused on who are the relationships he needs to reach out to, who are the relationships that he needs to kick to the curb, and there's really none that he has to in this case, but who are the ones that need a little coaching. There's a couple that could use that, and then really laser target is you got to go out and get new relationships. I look at the spreadsheet on there. I think his number is he needs 60 realtors, and I could probably pull up the spreadsheet. I should have looked at that. But if I'm looking at there, he needs 18 in that column. He needs 11 in that column. That's 29, 30, 31. He needs 32 new relationships, I think, in order to hit his goal. And so let me say one last thing, and then I'm gonna be quiet and let Deborah do my stuff. Now, the other part is that Shay also tracks his activities. And so for Shay, 70, if he called 72, if he talked to 72 people in a week, 72 quality conversations. Now, keep in mind, Shay works from home. He's got a baby who's like 8 months old. He's got a 3-year-old. He's trying to be super helpful to his wife. He's working from home, but he's working full 8 hours a day, period. They're not working 7 hours a day. He's not working 7.5 hours a day. He's working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. He's making the evening calls if he has to, but he's really just trying to work like a 9-to-5 job. But 72 conversations a week is what it took for him. If you reverse engineer, so let me think of the best way to explain it. So I reverse engineered the number of calls that it took for him to close, the number of quality conversations for the 37 loans he closed so far this year. And then I reverse engineered, based on all of his conversion rates, how many leads he needs to get, right? So now he knows that he needs to get, if he wants to close 10 leads, 10 transactions, then he needs to have 50 leads, he needs to have 12 leads and 7 applications this week. So he needs to have 48 in a month, and he needs to have 48 leads, and he needs to have 28 applications. Okay, so that's a big number, right? To get to 10 closings. It just tells you, because again, bad credit, people who get scared once they get qualified and aren't getting pulled across the finish line. But for him to do that, he only needs to have 72 quality conversations. So when I reverse engineer the number of people he talked to each week to get to his number of closings, which was 37, it's 72. But guess what his number is? Now, this is where people be like, oh, I'm just going to do 72 because that's going to get me there. Well, but he's behind. He's not closing 10 a month. So he's laser focused on 100 quality conversations a week or live meetings. Again, he's jumping on Zoom and doing the realtor thing. He's jumped on Zoom with clients, but it's going to mainly be electronic. But he's going to be laser focused on exceeding it, setting a standard of 100 in a week. Because if he can do 100 in a week, then he'll be 2 to 10 loans a month faster. I think it's going to take him 90 days to get there. And I think even if he did 72 calls, then it might take him 120 days, or maybe he wouldn't even get there. Maybe take him all 6 months. But I'm hoping that with his 100 quality conversation commitment, and I'll talk in a minute how to have those conversations, who to have them with, that kind of thing. But that's the kind of deep dive in the numbers. And then the last thing I'll throw in there is you should figure out your hourly rate, because that's what Deborah and I were talking about before. But let's not talk about hourly rate. Let's talk about that in a minute. But what I just threw a whole lot at people. Break that up a little bit for me. Break it down. Come on, coach.
Well, so I was processing that in my head, and I put it in the chat where we can't always control who picks up the phone or who responds on text messages or DMs. But one of the things that I've started tracking it are my attempts. So how many outbound either calls or, DMs that I send. So attempts, which then lead to contacts, which then lead to appointments set. For me, it's discovery calls, but maybe for you, it's then, meeting with an agent or the client. To then, of those appointments set, how many were actually held? Because we know sometimes people, prime example, we had over 100 RSVP on this webinar and half showed. So appointments met. Then of those that we have met with, whether it's a buyer consultation or not, how many of those qualify? So if they start sending leads, or if it's a referral partner, do they qualify to work with us? Then presenting, maybe that's a TCA, or you're showing your unique value proposition, like I think Brandon had mentioned in the chat. And then how many convert or contracts do you get, to then closings, to then introductions? So tracking how many new intros, whether it's to the client's divorce attorney, CPAs, financial advisors, like how are you spawning off of that one person? To also tracking 5-star reviews. So that would be one thing I would add, is like a net promoter score. Do you have a systematic way where you're checking your client experience, or are you just assuming it's great? Ideally, you would want to check kind of, how could you constantly be improving from a loan manufacturing or a team standpoint? Because we know that can breed into the next one, which is referrals. We always want to be growing referrals from, again, not just the introductions from that client or agent, but other referrals that we can get. And then what is your systematic process or way that you're nurturing post-closing for that resell or upsell opportunity, which could be a debt consolidation loan. Maybe they're looking to move up, move down, et cetera. So in my mind, I feel like a lot of times people don't track, and you had mentioned it, number of conversations. I say attempts because I'm teaching clients to also DM, send mass emails, go live, do collaborations on social. So it's not always, conversations may be written form. So I just label that as attempts. But I also like what you said, where are you tracking where your business is coming from, not just right now, but a year-over-year trend. Like how many, I saw Tom Ferry had posted that over 60,000 agents have already exited the industry from the start of this year. So in 6 months, 60,000 agents have left. Are you tracking your data to know who is leaving because they're getting out of the business? Are they leaving because maybe during 2020, 2021, you neglected them? Like, are you constantly on the hunt where you're always adding agents to your deck? And how many are you retaining year over year where you have solid relationships that are bulletproof? Doesn't mean perfect, but it's important to track those things so that the classes that you host every month. A lot of people will tell me, I just don't feel like it's working. I'm like, well, how do you know? It may be just going a little bit deeper into your numbers, that maybe Todd has attended all of your classes and they're sending you deals, but all your deals with them just don't qualify. So that's a different conversation. And maybe, teaching that agent how to fish in maybe different ponds. But if you're only looking at your closings and where that business comes from, you may be missing some of the results and some of the data that could allow you to have more critical conversations with those putting in the work. They just need to work smarter and fish in different ponds. So I love that you mentioned that. The only other item I would add is how many people are you adding to your database? Or what's that commitment or that standard? monthly, and maybe in database I include in social? Are you consistently finding ways that you are adding people to either CRM, or maybe it's an Excel document, maybe it's your social, so that you can do your nurturing sequence to them, and not missing out on those contacts if it's not organized?
All right. So you're laying the groundwork for the well-rounded loan officer, right? I mean, all those things that Deborah's talking about is what they're all the different. I mean, if you're going to fill out every piece of the scorecard, then Deborah nailed it. And what I think is some of you probably are like, well, Todd, I haven't tracked all that stuff. Like, I don't have that data. So remember, the best day to plant an elm tree was 20 years ago. The next best day is today. And so these are all things, again, I'm not here to sell you a win by noon planner, but they're all things that are in the win by noon planner, right? It actually has spots where you fill in the blanks for all of these things. And again, my planner is just a mess, but it's written all in, and I record the activities, I track the conversations for myself as well. And I think it's really critical, but you just have to decide what is that going to look like, right? What is it that you're going to do? And if you don't know what your number is, then just pick one and start it, right? If you've never tracked your calls. So for me, what I realized was the last time that I really tracked my calls as a loan officer was during COVID, right? So during COVID, it was raining loans, and there wasn't a lot of speaking engagements for me to jump in my airplane and fly around. And so we bought an Airstream and we drove around the country, and my wife and I closed about 600 loans together, almost 700 during COVID. So everyone thinks that I forgot how to do loans. Actually, I didn't. It was kind of crazy. But what I found was that it was about 1-to-1 for me. So if I made 20 calls, I typically had 19 or 20 conversations. And in the end, so it's the activity. You've got to sort of figure that out for yourself. So it could take you 2 calls to get a hold of a person to have a live conversation. What I found is for quote unquote my business, and which is now Shay's business, it's about 1-to-1. But yes, I mean, I can tell you that because I see it. I mean, my team, I wasn't on the team call because I was on a realtor mastermind this morning. But I can tell you they all, they texted in their numbers, right? My business partner, Matt, 8 client calls, 15 partner calls, 21 quality conversations, 1 lead, 1 new contract. Right. And so, again, it's accountability on the team, and they got on the call and had that conversation. And so I would be just thinking about it. And the piece that came to mind, so this realtor mastermind I'm on, it's 6 people, all coached by the same, one's a Tom Ferry coach, and then 5 of them are all coached by him in some way. And they're all over the country, their own brokerage, 2 own brokerages and run teams. And then the other 3 run teams, and they're big teams, like, 15 to 25 agent teams. And one of the guys is from the Air Force, and he talked about that they have standards, right? We don't have standards. Like, so for Shay, his minimum standard is there's 100 quality conversations in a week. And so you have to decide, how does that standard play in, right? Did you work on Monday or not work on Monday? My personal standard, just so you know, right now is 50 quality conversations with realtors in a week, right? And I'm not even doing loans. And I can tell you that as of yesterday, I had 41 quality conversations. That's Wednesday. And I didn't do any calls on Tuesday. That just tells you, because on Monday was such an easy day to reach out to realtors and ask them what they're doing for the 3rd. And I just spent my morning, I'd spent a couple hours and just reached out. Hey, do you have any plans for tomorrow? Hey, do you have any plans for tomorrow? Hey, do you have any plans for tomorrow? It was like taking candy from a baby. But I have a standard. My standard is 10 conversations a day. And so even though I went into yesterday 20 conversations ahead, I still had 11 conversations yesterday. So I'm at 41 this morning. My minimum standard for myself is 50, and I've got 2 days to do it. But guess what? My standard is still 10 a day. So it doesn't mean I don't have to do any today, because I only have to do 9 tomorrow to finish the week out. It means I still do 10 today. I still do 10 tomorrow. So at a minimum, I'll have 61 at the end of the week. But my guess is because I don't stop. I don't stop because I hit my number. I stop because I have a time. I'm spending 2 hours a day. That's it. But I'm spending 2 hours a day, and guess what? I'm probably talking to more agents than most of you, because I'm laser focused on it. It's what I'm doing. And I also am separating myself out. One of the things, I'm not in 17-degree Arizona right now. I'm in 60-degree California. And so I'll go out and I'll walk for an hour or two, because then I don't have my computer here to distract me. I don't know about you, but if I'm standing in front of my computer, I'm checking my phone, looking at my text messages, I'm looking to see what Plug and Play posted for me, so I look like I'm on social media. All these things, I get super distracted. And guess what? Magic happens when you actually are isolated and all you can do is actually focus on the conversation that you're having. So I don't know. I mean, Deborah, when's the last time, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, have you ever just are you able to focus just like that? Or are you like multitask woman?
What's interesting is this year I found that when I do work on the airplane where I have one monitor, I feel like I get more done. I don't know, it's because I'm on a plane and I'm not at the office or at home and there's no other distractions, but I had read a stat that if you added a monitor, you get like 33% of your productivity launched, or I don't remember the exact, I think it was 33% more productive if you added this second monitor, just from the clicks and stuff. But I have found that sometimes I can get more distracted that way. So when I'm on an airplane with no one else around, with earbuds and one monitor, I get some great quality work, and things that like hang over my head, like my emails. The number of emails in my inbox, it drives me crazy. I like to get it. In fact, I trained my team on just email management. It should be like your to-do list. So you want to have, the goal is 0 emails in your inbox at the end of every day. And we do that on our marketing, like team email account. But when you look at my email account, I think I have 128 right now and 22 unread. So my goal by the end of the day is to make sure that I've either deleted, delegated, responded, like put it in a folder of what I'm going to come back to. I get a lot done when I'm just in that airplane.
Yeah, I think that's, it's funny because Darren Hardy always says, well, why would you bother to pay extra money to be on the internet when you're in that tube and you have like this whole ability just to do what he would call a jam session, I would call on time. And, but I still have an internet subscription since I'm flying a lot. Well, not right now, but I will be the rest of the year. So a couple things. So Carl's asking a great question. We track all of our loan related stuff in a CRM. So we have leads, apps, pre-quals, and closings in there. And we don't track our other stuff. Literally, my team is old school. It's all tracked in the planner, and then they report their numbers out, and they send it over at the end of the week, at the end of the month. And so we're totaling as we go through the quarter, and it's just on a spreadsheet. So that's eventually some point in the future, who knows when, Win by Noon will have the ability to upload the data in there, because a lot of coaching organizations use Win by Noon, and they might have a online piece that their clients have to put something at the end of the day, but they all know that if their clients don't have something on their desk that they're writing their numbers into, that they're probably making it up at the end of the day. So they all require them to have some type of a physical planner that they use. And that's why a lot of them use and are grateful and support me and Win by Noon from that perspective. Let me just talk about then how to turn this into like the focus for the rest of the year. And then let me answer some of these questions about the realtor conversation, since you guys are blowing us up on that. And then we'll talk about the hourly rate piece in a minute. So really, I kind of talked about it. We looked at Shay's numbers, and then, I had the meeting with him. So I'm having these conversations with realtors, so I talked to a realtor the other day with Shay, because I'm trying to teach him how to have these meetings, right? And it was awesome. Hey, how'd the first half of the year go? Like, again, it's just a wide open question. No, not as good as I thought. Okay, well, again, tell me a couple good things that happened, right? Again, you want to always get people focusing on the positive. And then, this realtor's goal is 12 transactions for the year, and he's done 3. Luckily, Shay's done all 3 of those. And so that part's great. And then we went through and I said, well, great. How are you, this guy works. He's a hard worker. He has Boomtown. He puts the dialer on. He dials for 2 hours a day. He's very committed to his time. That's like a standard for him. He doesn't, because someone's hosting some cool event, he's not going to go to it. He didn't come to the mastermind I hosted earlier this year because he's like, sorry, Todd, that's during my dialing time. I'm like, dude, high five, like, send us the business. Thank you. And then really just talk about what he was doing, and he's doing open houses. And I said, again, you have to be okay challenging people too. I said, well, that doesn't sound like you're doing very well. If you're doing a minimum, your goal is 6 open houses a week, and you've done 1 transaction from an open house this year. Tell me about that. Like, how many, what are you doing when you're at an open house? And I walked him through it, and we devised, because I'm texting my little mastermind group, hey, what do you guys suggest for open houses? He's not doing anything to collect their data. he like wants them to want to give him his information. So he's now going to actually, as a sign-in pad, he went out and bought, he showed me a picture of it. So he's gonna have people sign in, when he gets to the open house, so that he's got more opportunity to follow up with the leads, right? And so again, it's, what did you do? Great. Where are we now? What are we going to plan for the rest of the year? And so now, now I know Shay's got to get 32 realtors, right? By the end of the year. That's a lot. I mean, I think a lot of you are like, oh, how's that going to happen? Well, it's going to happen. Partially because I'm going to help him. So he does have that advantage. But it's not things that you can't do. I mean, he's a guy who's been in the business for, a year and a half, and he has converted listing agents because he's calling listing agents, right? He's makes his Tuesday update calls. And he's already got them referring him business, even in a different state. He's only done one transaction that wasn't in Arizona, and that listing agent out of state has already referred him business. And so the things that we talk about, I think we overcomplicate it. One of the things, some of you I know are part of the building referral relationships program that Deborah and I have, and it's posting the videos, and people get surprised at how they don't think that reaching out on a weekly basis to realtors actually works. But I can tell you, one of the leads that Shay got over the holiday weekend was a realtor. She was a listing agent on a transaction with my team. Let me look it up and I'll tell you specifically, assuming that I'm logged into my database, which I may not be. I might have to type in my thing, but she was a listing agent. She lives in Tucson, Arizona. So it's an hour and a half away. She's never met in person with anybody on my team. Sorry, I got to go into Authenticator and authenticate myself to get into my CRM. But she's on the weekly drip emails, text messages that I send out. So I send out texts typically 3 times a month. And so she was the listing agent on a property that closed in 2021, February 4th of 2021. And she has never sent my team a lead until this weekend. And so the question for you is that how many of you have who did a transaction with a realtor 2.5 years ago that just sent you a lead because you've continued to drip on them? And so she gets a text message from me, call it 3 times a month. Doesn't respond, by the way. I don't know if she watches the videos or not, but guess what? Hey, Todd, it's me, Deborah. I've got a lead for your team. Can you have your guy call? Right? I mean, come on, like that's how it works. I mean, that's really it. I would say this too. One last statistic I'll give you, and then let's talk hourly rate for a second. For Shay, past clients, just because I think that's really important to know, 27% of businesses database referrals and past clients, which I think could be better. Because he doesn't have that relationship with them, and he's calling past clients and people in the database, but they don't necessarily know him as well. They only know him if they've been doing business with our team for 1.5 years. And so but that's 27% of his business. So if whatever 27% of 37 is, it's got to be at least 8, right? Eight or 9 transactions. And so could y'all use 8 or 9 transactions? And again, it's keeping in touch with your database, reminding them who you are. And that kind of thing. Hourly rate, Deborah, take it away.
Well, one thing that I want to put just an exclamation point on with what you said is it's consistently taking action over time. So a lot of times I have clients that even from an initial discovery call, they're like, I feel like I've done this or I've tried that and it's not working for me. And sometimes there's small little tweaks that we have to make that they think they're posting a reel a day, but they don't realize how they're actually posting it or when they're posting it is wrong. But perception is I'm doing the activity, I'm not getting the results yet. And then there's a lot of people who are doing everything correct, but they just haven't given it enough time. So that consistency from 2021, that listing agent that you added to your database, again, that is a system in itself of looking for ways to add people to your database. But then there's that contact strategy, in frequency of sending the text 3 times a month. Are you sending out videos? Are you doing an email every Friday as a value add? So I just want to point that out, that don't judge yourself too early or give up too early on something if you haven't been tracking it long enough, because that also builds trust. And there's times where people don't build trust, like not being consistent could actually be hurting you. And there's people that show up online and then they go away, and then they show up and it's probably in sync with their business. When they get really busy, they quit posting. And that can be, that can hurt you not only with the algorithms, but also with the trust of new connections that you've been working on. So for an hourly rate standpoint, I think, and I put this in the chat of some of the other things that I know Todd also tracks from a personal side. And you may have mentioned this, but how many days worked and how many vacation days that you take. I've been working really hard. This is the first year I've actually executed. Every year I would say I want to take more time off. I want to do more family vacations. We will have done 4 family vacations, 4 different states in a span of 4 months. And that was largely due to, I think, when I went to the Be Wealthy event with you and hearing Brett Tanner and really looking at the life plan, which, guys, truth be told, I would preach these things and I wasn't always practicing what I preach with some of these things. I wouldn't take the time off. But I am now, and I love it. I rejuvenate.
Your first
And
vacations ever as a family, right? I mean, I'm so proud of you
yes,
guys.
yes. And literally in 4 months, so at the end of this month, we're going to another family vacation for summer. And I'm like, I had my kids do their top 100 dream board from a book that we were told to read. What is it? Dream Catcher, Dream Manager. It's a great
Yeah.
book, by the way, guys. And I had my kids do the same activity. What are 100 dreams that you have? People you want to meet, places you want to go, whatever. My job is to help be the dream catcher for you. Same thing from a leadership position with the people that work with me. I want to learn what their dreams are and help them achieve those dreams. So that is a great motivator for the person who asked about motivation. Sometimes you have to put a bigger why behind the activity. Like, is it fun to just DM people every day or to make the calls? It's not always fun, but when you see the bigger why and the purpose behind it, that can help with your motivation. Or having just that dream board. Like, every year I would say, I want to take more time off. I want to go on a family vacation. I just wouldn't do it. Or I need to drink more water. I need to eat more fruits and vegetables. I'm still working on those things. But when it comes to an hourly rate, I think it's important to know, do you want to work more? Do you want to work less and earn more? Like, what's your profitability? Are there ways where you can streamline, maybe through automation or through different systems and tools? Could you get leaner and still earn the money that you want to earn to live the life that you want to live? And so once you calculate kind of what your ideal work week, or how many business days are left from now until the end of the year, because we know the second half of the year there's less business days than the first half. It's deceiving because you have Thanksgiving in there, you have Christmas, you have the holidays. So it can quickly kind of feel like it's a lot quicker on the second half, which to me, I feel like it is, because we do, whether we take time off, maybe it's your partners or your clients. But what is your current hourly rate? How many hours are you working? Do you track it? And I don't mean just like you go to the office and you're not really productive, like scrolling on social during 9 to 5 hours, unless you're consuming it for good to help create your own content. But how many hours are you actually spending working? And then how much have you earned? And so once you know what your hourly rate is, then you have to look at the whole law of leverage of what is the opportunity cost by me saying yes to certain things, like making my own social media post. There is a time, like, you should be doing all your personal posting, but you should be leveraging out, for some of you, depending on what your hourly rate is. We have packages that start at $250 a month. And so it's like, what is it costing you by you getting distracted? And maybe it's the creative side of it. Could be fun. You could enjoy going on Canva or maybe different apps if you're doing your own video editing, but that doesn't mean that you should be doing those things. So what are those things you should be doing that create the highest, income in the shortest amount of time, the higher dollar producing activities? How much time are you spending on those? And then what would your business look like if you spent your time only on those things and you learn to delegate or leverage out? Maybe it's hiring a part-time assistant. Maybe it's getting a virtual assistant. Maybe it's getting a social media team. Maybe it's, getting someone to mow your yard or to clean your house, or whatever those things are, looking at your cost of time. I think that's important. I think a lot of times we don't look at that and we say yes to the wrong things because we don't realize, oh, just spending an extra 30 minutes on social. Well, if I know that my hourly rate says $1,000 an hour, then that just cost me $500 by just choosing to stay on here for an extra 30 minutes. Is that okay with you? Do you have that money to just be throwing out the window? So Um, that's my little snip
Well, and
on hourly rate.
I think that's great. And I would say I'm guilty of it, right? This is the one area I'm very cheap. Everyone says I should say I'm frugal, but I'm very cheap on the little things during the week so that I can spend big on experiences, right? I mean, I'm in a house in Venice Beach that's, right on the cool street of town, and it's not cheap. And I talked for years about doing it, right? Since 2016, we spent every summer but one on the road, doing something, either in a house like this and my Airstream when we had the Airstream during COVID, New York in an apartment, Portland. I mean, we stayed some cool places for the summer. And but I got crystal clear early on in my hourly rate. And then I made sure that when I'm focusing on it from a work perspective, because I want to spend in experiences with my family. And so from a work perspective, I'm very crystal clear on what I do, and a personal perspective as well, right? I don't mow my lawn. I was giving my brother-in-law, who was here over the 4th of July, a hard time because he loves to mow his lawn, he says, but I don't think so. I think he just doesn't make enough. He's just never done the hourly rate comparison. But if you love it, do it, right? I mean, there's certain things I enjoy doing my bookkeeping, but I actually need to outsource that. I'm spending too much time on it, and I know how much money it's costing me, and I can save a ton of money by outsourcing that. And guess what? My income is down this year. Can you guys believe that? Thankfully not very much. And my goal is to actually have it be up by the end of the year, because I put new things into place that I'm doing from a personal financial perspective that are earning me income. However, I've kept the hourly rate that I use is my high hourly rate, just because I'm making a little bit less money today. Actually, maybe I'm not. Months this year I did, though. I'm absolutely making sure that I am laser focused on that time. And guess what? I also value your time. You're all here watching this, whether you're watching it live or you're watching the recording later. I value your time and want to make sure that as we're spending the time together, that we're making it valuable. That's why I asked what you guys wanted to hear. So I'll make sure that we start chatting about this stuff. I would tell you, when I do hourly rate, I do at 2,000 hours, right? That's 50 weeks, 40 hours a week. But I can tell you that normally when I work, I'm working typically 8.5, 9 hours a day. Here in California, my goal is 7.5 hours a day most days. And again, this is where we got to be careful to not, to be okay to say no. One of my biggest pet peeves in life is when you have one of those Calendly links, and then someone sets an appointment with me, and I'm like, sorry, I can't meet at that time. I'm looking to see if he's on here. But I had somebody set an appointment for 4 o'clock yesterday with me, and I hadn't sent him my link. He just, my link is out there. People can do it. If you go to my link tree, you can dig deep enough and find it. He's not here. But I just said, hey, my family is in town. I'm trying to have fun with, like, date afternoon with my wife. And I'm like, dude, I'm done at 4. I'm done at 2. I'm like, I can talk between 11 and 2. And he's like, okay, I'll talk to you at 2. I'm like, no, between 11 and 2. How about 1:30? So we had a conversation at 1:30. I was done work at 2 yesterday. And the crazy part is I probably got a lot more done before 2 than a lot of you did all day. And it's because that whole Parkinson's law, right? I knew I only was going to go until that time. And so therefore I was going to be laser focused with what I did to make sure I hit my standard. I had a to-do list that I completed all the things on my to-do list. And then I also had a number of conversations, a minimum of 10 conversations with realtors. And I gave myself 2 hours again to do that. I got 11 in. Like I said. And so people are asking about realtor conversations. So let me just kind of talk about it, right? I think you have to create a reason to call somebody. You all have call reluctance. That's why you don't call people, right? And so, so one of the things is that, again, you guys have seen me say this before. I've got 2 phones, right? This is my real phone. It's an iPhone. That's what grownups use. And so I use this for my personal phone. And then people are like, well, then why did you get an Android, Todd, for your work phone? Well, you know what? Originally it was an iPhone, but I use a thing called Mighty Text to send out my blast texts to realtors. And so it's an Android thing. And so I couldn't have 2 phones hooked into my computer, but I can text message with realtors from my computer from that phone number. And the other part is I don't want them to have my real phone number. I mean, hate to say it, I get to turn off my schedule. And when I was doing loans full time, that's how I did it. I'm going to Europe in a month, and I won't have this phone. Shay or Matt Baker, my business, someone will have the phone. I won't have it. We'll probably use Zoom instead. Actually, we'll port the number over to them. But either way, I won't carry this phone. No one will be able to reach me when I'm gone. I'll have my email. Guess what? You might email me while I'm there, and I may respond. It just might not be quite as fast as usual. And email's not my strength now, so then it's really going to be slow. But ultimately, it's this whole idea of what are you going to do to keep in touch with them? So we talked about text messaging. So I send out typically a video text minimum of twice a month, but my standard's been 3 times a month. And then I'll send out a text that's just a kind of a checking in with you text. Like I can tell you that I sent out a text to some realtors who, again, no different than this lady who referred us a lead. I don't know that I've talked to this lady in 2 years. But she gets my text in response. But I actually sent a text out. I called everyone to say, hey, just calling to wish you a happy 4th and to see what you're doing tomorrow. Give me a call. I'd love to hear. And then I hung up and then I sent them a text. Hey, doing anything fun tomorrow? But I literally people that I've called, right? So I call our best agents every week. I call our next group of agents every other week. And I call all the agents on our list typically every 3 to 4 weeks. Now, obviously the lady who did a loan with us in 2021, I told you I didn't call her. She wasn't even on my radar screen, although luckily she's on my text list in Mighty Text. And so, but I had agents who my team has done 1, 2, 3 transactions with in the last year who did not respond or ever pick up the phone when I've called them in the past 6 months, who responded to my text after I called them that said, doing anything exciting with your family tomorrow. Who responded to me. I mean, agents who, like literally no, big agents too, like no response agents. So don't underestimate the value of dripping on people and then strategically asking them a quick question. There's a difference between throwing up on information on them and engaging with them. So like when I send out my last text that I sent out on last week, which was a Housing Wire article, I recorded a 2-minute video on the 5 reasons that the market wasn't going to crash. I didn't give any call to action. I just sent it out to people. That was it. It wasn't meant to create engagement. It was meant to inform, and transparently, I didn't ask for engagement on it. Guess why not? Because I'm in California, I didn't want to work any longer that day. And if I would have asked for engagement, then I would be getting text messages and they would be wondering why I didn't respond. Well, guess what? When I go out with my family, I don't bring that phone with me because I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm with my family. So I have the ability, I can do that because I'm not counting on those right now to pay my bills. Unfortunately, you have to do that. So you have to decide if you want to get the engagement or not. And so most of the time I'm trying to ask them a question. Hey, what do you think about this? Right? Hey, love to hear your opinion. And then I use that as my follow-up phone calls, right? So now I know all these people, what all they did on 30 people, whatever it was on Monday. I know what they did for 4th of July. So guess what my next call either this week or next week's going to be? Hey, how was it? How's your Airstream in New York, Eric? Hey, Jackie, did you make it to Michigan okay? Hey, Hope, how was your time at the beach in Michigan with your family, right? I know what these people did, and I have conversations now that I can follow up and discuss with them because I took the time to engage with them. And then the other people I can call and say, hey, what did you think about the video I did on the 5 reasons that the market's not going to crash? Now, guess what? Most of them are going to say, I didn't watch your video, Todd, right? And then I could be like, oh, well, maybe. Let me go over with you real quick, right? And I'll just have the conversation with them about it. Actually, probably what I'll say is, hey, would you like me to tell you about it? And then they'll say yes, right? Probably what I'll use is something along the lines of, what do you understand about the real economic reasons behind why the market won't crash? And they're going to say, I don't know. I'll say, oh, you didn't happen to watch that video, did you? They're going to say no. And I'll say, awesome, would you be open-minded to me telling you about that video? And they'll say yes. And then I'll walk them through it, right? Because I want to sound really smart when I talk to them. So I'm always looking for things to engage with them about and to send them so that they have something to say to their clients. And I feel like that's where a lot of you could improve your opportunities to engage, because you can call them and say, did you listen to it? No big deal. Let me tell you about it. You did. Awesome. Can I get some feedback on it? And then the last thing I'll say that we've done, I've talked about it for a long time, but we just started, it's the second Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. We're doing a client-focused 20 to 30 minute conversation that's geared towards its housing rates in the economy. And it's consumer focused, and we're calling our realtors and inviting them to it and inviting them to invite their clients to it. And our reason for that is we're saying you can invite your clients so that your clients can hear what you're already telling them about the market, and that it's not going to crash and what's going to happen with rates, all the things you're saying, but they can hear it from another source that you trust and we're going to talk the same language as you. And we had less than 10 people that showed up for the first one. And who knows how many people are going to show up for the next one. I haven't looked to see how many people are registered. But again, what are my LOs doing? It's Thursday, right? Realtor call day. So they're calling up their realtors and they're inviting them to the conversation. Yesterday was Wednesday pre-qualify day. Guess what they told them on Wednesday? Hey, come to our thing that we're having on Tuesday. And so we're creating things to invite people to, and we're sending videos that we can talk to about. And you just have to create reasons to overcome your call reluctance. Whew. All right, sorry, that was on my soapbox. Damn it.
Can I just say, and I don't know if this will be helpful. Can I share my screen, Todd?
I would love you to
And
share
I'll
your
show
screen.
you a little bit of how we help. If you're someone that's like, gosh, I just don't, because it does take lots of consumption of just either content or maybe of different subscriptions of emails that come through to know what you could share, to be that conversation starter. So we created a solution that every Friday, and we have clients that will sign up just for our coaching emails and videos, which is $99 a month. And I'll show you like a quick snippet of what that looks like, but we will spoon feed you guys and give you little snippets and even a video script of every Monday. Mondays are our video recording days that I encourage people to then send that video, not only post it on social, but then repurpose it and send it in your value add email every Friday. Again, whether that's to clients or to your real estate partners, and sometimes usually it can be both. But we create a whole, in fact, I'll just share my screen so you guys can see a little bit of, so every Friday this email goes out. There's usually a coaching, tactic video of like this week I'll be explaining the new feature through Meta. But if you open up the battle plan, so I would just click here and you'll see there's arrows where I talk about so this past Monday, this was the hook. It was homes are actually more affordable today relative to income increases. And you'd have to hear the video how I explained it, but I tried to chunk it down into each graphic to help explain this concept. And I also have my video script here. So what I did is I actually recorded me doing the video, and then I used otter.ai to transcribe my video, and I just literally copied and pasted. So it will transcribe exactly how I speak, which I think is okay. I think it's important for you guys to see, the language. It's conversational language. It doesn't have to be, textbook. So again, this was me just walking through the process, incorporating inflation, but also average household income increases according to ADP. And then this is the script that I gave to help explain the charts. And again, the whole goal is for you guys to use this script or this educational content to then send out to your database or to post on social or make that your Friday email. Tuesdays, I call it TCA Tuesday. I've been hitting really hard on student loans because, as we know, September 1st is when servicers are coming knocking on your clients' doors who have not been saving, most likely their student loan payments and putting it in some kind of investment opportunity or maybe even a savings account. And so this is going to be a big sticker shock. And so what can we do to help families right now who may be looking to refinance or maybe looking to buy and they have student loans? So this whole from now until like the end of August is every Tuesday, I'm doing a different TCA around student loans and what your options are, incorporating things like Loan Sense. I think next week's TCA is going to use Loan Sense to recalculate the student loan payment. But showing them like if you were to buy right now before September 1st versus waiting, it's going to make a difference. It's also going to eat into their ability to save. And I always include not only the link for you to go review the TCA, but then I also do a screenshot in case you guys want to use this as like a green screen effect, or if you want to adjust the number so it's more realistic due to your market. But the Tuesdays are meant to position you as the strategist, not just the order taker LO who's just talking about rates and payments, but actual strategy. Wednesdays are host your show day. I also have in our big 30,000 foot above you calendar of hosting your own mastermind, like what Todd was talking about. Todd, I don't know if you realize you're my example, but I have people who ask me like, how do I host a show? Like if I were to do that every Wednesday, what's the Zoom setup? How would that work? I include all those hyperlinks here. And so essentially I include, by the way, this Friday is World Chocolate Day. But we lay out your battle plan Monday through Friday. Here's the TCA example for this week. And then here's the content calendar so that people can see, here's some personal branding opportunities. These are the daily non-negotiables of things that you could be doing on social. And so This a lot of times helps those who are like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. You could leverage us out. I'll stop sharing. This is something, again, you could sign up for just $99 a month to get this email every single Friday. That then my hope is that you print out the battle plan. You have it ready for Monday on your video recording day. So you have a reoccurring appointment with yourself. That's an hour time block every Monday. It's a non-negotiable. That is your time to then record the very script that I spoon feed you guys, as well as the TCA example. That, again, both of those should be posted on social and sent out as a one-to-many strategy. To one, it's going to help your agents convert more. The video that we did last week, which was very successful, was how the 3% rate is actually hurting American families right now, and they just don't know it. So when someone asks, like, how do you stay motivated in this market? To me, I'm always motivated when there's people that have a need. It's like, if there's a need, then I can serve them. And a lot of times there's a knowledge gap of they just either don't know what to do, or they don't know. That's what I love about the TCAs. It shows them their net, rate. Like, how much is your blended rate with all household debt? And this is without people even having to pay on their student loans. Imagine what this is going to look like when they have to start actually paying on their student loans. So if you need help with content ideas, or even beyond just content, like how to do the one-to-many, like having someone that will do the hours of research to then spoon feed you the stuff, like, ask for help. You don't have to have shame in asking for help, but ask and you can receive it.
So someone's asking, what is to get the stuff you just showed, what's the cost of that? Is that the
That's
$249?
$99 a month. You get our weekly emails and our 30,000 foot above you content calendar that goes out every week.
So, I mean,
Included in that is like a coaching, video where I'm teaching you different tips and tactics with social, so that you guys stay on the education train with me.
So here's the deal, right? So let me kind of try to put a bow on it, and then, I'll stay around, and if anyone wants to hang out, and I'll give a couple more realtor ideas. And I've got a realtor call in 29 minutes. I did a realtor call. He actually invited his business partner, his marketing guy, too. And he's like, hey, I need to jump on another call with you. I've got a meeting with him in 2 weeks live. But what I would say, kind of a couple of things, right? So number one is that, we talked about hourly rate, and then, this is a perfect example of you're spending a lot of time thinking about what to put out there, and Deborah will do for you. So for $100, I'm thinking, I don't use the word no brainer as much as I should, but it's a no brainer. But I think really just go back big level. It's great if you want to spend the $100, but then Deborah and I both want you to execute on it. And so what I would say is that let's just kind of put a bow on it, right? You got to go back and look at the first half of the year. Look at what you crushed. Look at the fun you had. Look at Deborah had 3 vacations already, right? Look at that stuff, right? Pat yourself on the back, look in the mirror, say, hey, you did awesome. You did a great job, right? And then be honest with yourself about what are the things that you can do better, right? Like, look at your numbers and then make a commitment. Like, this is a real deal. Like, it's a standard, right? The military, they have standards for what they do. My standard is 50 quality conversations with realtors. And guess what? I do it. Like, I mean, I can show you who I talk to. That's why I use my planner, right? I see Joseph from Factum Financials on here. I'm using the Factum Financial version of Win by Noon, and they don't track their calls, but I track mine. I got my little call tracker. I have to hand write it in because they don't have it in their version of the planner. But I'm a student of what it is I'm teaching still today. I'm doing it alongside of all of you, and then you've got to schedule it in your calendar, right? Someone was telling me before on yesterday on a HOA.com coaching call that I run 2 times a month, that he loves the theme days, right? I already told you my team calls pre-qualified clients on Wednesdays. You can get that inside of for free in the Win by Noon mastermind group on Facebook. Just go to files and look up ideal week, I call it. But you got to build into your ideal week for the second half of the year the things that you're going to commit to yourself to get done. And now we all know too, you got to do it in the morning before you get distracted by everything else. Be okay with putting something else on pause until later in the day. It's not urgent, right? It's important, and make sure you get all the important stuff done. The things on my to-do list yesterday got done, but they didn't get done before noon because that wasn't important. They got done before 2 when I quit working, but I got those most important things done. And so be really hard on yourself during the day to live to your calendar and not allow distractions as much as possible, right? Be just like Deborah, get on a plane all you can so that you only have one screen. You can't get distracted by the second one. But I really know that this next 6 months is going to be hard. It is. I mean, don't take it the wrong way. I don't want to call 50 realtors for my team. I don't. But if I'm going to get my team back on track to be a $100 million team in 2024, guess what? I got to do some hard work in 2023. And I'm willing to put my time, my money, right, is my time behind that. And I've created the accountability for myself with myself. Part of my accountability is to my team. Part of my accountability is to you all. You're going to bump into me somewhere and be like, Todd, did you do your 50 quality conversations? And again, I don't let it slide. I didn't let Tuesday be a day off, only do 40 this week. Nope. And I didn't wait till Wednesday to catch up. I pushed myself on Monday. And guess what? I only worked half day on Monday also, right? My daughter's flying in from New York. She lands in like 15 minutes. My wife is picking her up, not me, because I got a realtor Zoom. But by the time they get here, I'll be done for the day. But I'm pushing myself. And again, I'm pushing it into a compressed time. I think you can all do the same if you just get committed to it. Don't commit to it for me or Deborah. I mean, commit to Deborah so that you can get her $100 a month product. But commit to yourself. Like, you owe it to yourself, because I know you've got it in you. Like I've got no doubt that if you focus on it, but just pick that one thing. What is your one number? And it's the number I want you to pick as an activity. Don't pick a result. So Deborah talked about, she likes to focus on her calls. And I used to always focus on my dials. Right now I'm focused on the conversations, because if it's going to take me, it might take me, I think it's going to take me 50 calls in a week to get my 50 conversations plus or minus, right? That's proactive calling. If it only took me 30 calls and I got 50 conversations, then that's reactive, right? That means that more people are calling me than I'm calling people. But it might take me 60 in a week, might take me 65 in a week, might take me 55, but I'm focused on the number of people I talk to. That's how I can make an impact. And I'm still sending out all my texts, and I'm doing all that. I'm not counting that in my, in my numbers. And so think about, what is the one thing that you're willing to stake your stake your reputation on? What is it you're going to say is going to make you great this year to get through the rest of the year and get it done? And then just know that my commitment, because again, I'm a nerd, right? I go in my plan and I'm like, okay, what can I do, right? So, my personal goal right now with Win by Noon is to add on 100 new Win by Noon users this quarter, right? And so, but I can't just say I'm going to do that. So I had to say, what is it that I'm willing to do? So it's more webinars like this. So you guys are going to get stuck to hear me more often. And it's going to be welcome calls to new members. Adam is supposed to be doing those. I don't know if he is, but I'm going to start jumping on those. And then I got a couple of projects that we're going to work on, but I took the time when I did this review to say, what is it going to take for me to do that? And the same thing, right? I need to get Shay to 60 referral partners, and that's before the end of the year. So what is that going to look like, when he needs to add 32 more? And so I went through and made the notes of what it is I'm committing to do. And so, I'm asking you to commit to one thing. I've committed to multiple things in each of the areas that are important to me, because I've got different businesses that I'm in charge of, and I'm squeezing it into as little time as I have to, but as much as I need to. And so I don't know. I hope that's helpful. We're 7 minutes over. You probably are late for some discovery call that you're supposed to be on.
Well, the one thing I want to add to that, since someone had, I think it was Dave, and I'm so grateful. I see a lot of plug and play SM clients on this call, so that keeps me fired up too. But I see Dave had asked helping our realtor partners by giving them talking points, the right words. Someone else had mentioned about educational events. And guys, I just want, not because Todd is on this call and that he's trying to get more Win by Noon users, but start planning ahead. October, November, that could be a great time to host maybe launch your 2024, where you could host an event with all of your real estate like VIPs. And maybe you go ahead and pre-order some Win by Noon planners. There's the real estate edition, there's a loan officer edition, there's an entrepreneur edition, but you could be, ahead of the game, and you could have it customized where your cover has your logo on it. And it could be something that you invite them to that is a mastermind, that they carry this with them. And maybe the second Wednesday of every month for you, you're hosting your realtor mastermind, where you'll have a different guest maybe come speak. I'm happy to do a Zoom for you guys since you're on this call if you want, where you could have a social media segment. But if you encourage them that every second Wednesday at this time and at this location, bring your Win by Noon planner. We're going to develop the habits the last quarter of the year together, so that we can have those habits in place for the start of 2024. Like, these are some things I would really encourage you to consider starting to think about, because we know it's going to be slower, most likely come the fall and the winter. So what is your plan? That's what this is all about, is like not just showing up to learn. It's like there's a difference between education and training. We want you to then do. So here's a great idea of something that you could prep for. And maybe the expense is just in buying the planners as your gift. Nobody needs any other gift for the holidays. Make this your gift, and it's going to help your agents survive come 2024 and eventually thrive. And sometimes that group, that fellowship of you guys doing it together can really change the trajectory for those who need it the most. So be the lighthouse, amplify your greatness, continue to serve. There's plenty of problems out there financially that people have, that if you just had the courage to pick up the phone and ask people, how are you doing? Or maybe sorting your encompass of all your past closings of people who have credit card debt and student loans, like those are easy targets to just have a conversation with and be their local hero or their guide because you care enough to call.
Well, that was awfully nice of you to say. Yeah, and just know as we get closer, you all, if you've been watching for years, I mean, every year I always run at least one business planning for you all, and then business planning to invite your partners to, so that you can invite them along if you're not comfortable teaching them one-on-one, which is really how I built my business, right? This is what I'm doing now with realtors, right? I'm doing these Zoom calls. It's the same thing. It's just business planning. And then we do one where you can invite them along, and I'll teach you all how to plan together. So just, stay tuned on that. But, certainly anytime you can build the camaraderie with someone because you're doing the same things together. It was interesting on the mastermind I was on with these realtors this morning. One of the guys said that he is, they benchmark their agents, right? So I said, hey, help me understand that. And their benchmark was just a standard. It's a standard that they set. And I said, well, what are you benchmarking? He said, we only benchmark. In their case, they benchmark one thing, but it's kind of a funny thing. He's like, we benchmark, did they make all of the calls? Did they do everything they were supposed to do inside of our CRM, which is all the lead calls, all the follow-up calls to clients, all those other things. And let me say one last thing, and then I'm going to call it a hard stop in 4 minutes. So I'm going to try to do this in 2 minutes. I'll give Deborah 2 minutes to close it out. On your clients, right? It's been a year since rates went up, right? I mean, rates really went up a year ago. And so whatever clients you closed last year, you should absolutely be calling them and giving them an update. So again, I thrive in pushing myself to do things. And so, like I'm going to push Shay to call every client, in July that closed all of last year and give them an update, right? So 6 months worth of clients, which probably, closed over 100 loans last year. So probably 150. But I'm making them call all those people and give them an update of what's going on in the market. And guess what? You can invite them to our every second Monday of the month, 6 p.m. thing, right? So again, think about what it is you can do to people. But I would encourage y'all to look at how much of your business is coming from past clients and database. And my new thing for you should be hopefully 25%, since we're at 27%. That's a good number, but I think it could be higher. I think some of the repeat referral people would say it should be way higher than that. But and I don't disagree. But again, be reaching out to your clients too. Realtor acquisition, important. Realtor maintenance, important. Client acquisition, important. Lead follow-up, important. All those things. And again, if you're really disciplined around your calendar today and you focus on these things before you get distracted by everything else, I know from the bottom of my heart that you guys can all crush it. So appreciate you all spending extra time with us. Deborah, close us out.
I want you all listening to start tracking everything that we've talked about today. And then I want to hear from y'all come the end of the year on those of you who made the commitment right now to do these activities over 6 months, and just share with us who you've become through the process by honoring your own commitments to yourself, and what has it done for your business, and let the numbers prove the way. So take
Honor
action.
your commitments to yourself. Oh, that's a great way to close it out, right? The last person I want to disappoint is my family. But the ultimate last person I want to disappoint is myself. I know, just like myself, I know you guys all have it in you. So as always, super grateful for all of you for your support, and look forward to the next conversation we have. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll probably take one of these things that we just talked about, dive deep into it. And I think, shoot me a text or whatever, you guys all are in my text community probably, of what you think good topics would be, but probably some realtor conversation topics. We'll have some of those. And I'll always invite Deborah. She's welcome to every call that I do, but appreciate you all, and look forward to, I see some of you who are going to be at our training. So can't wait to see y'all in real life and in person. Peace. Take care, everyone.